All right, we have some breaking news. Less than 24 hours after Donald Trump militarily invaded Venezuela to capture Maduro, we already have business leaders and oil executives publicly planning an early 2026 trip to Venezuela to scout out what they perceive as potential riches. It's so simple. Every single time Republicans get into power, they do three things. First, they cut taxes for the richest. Second, they cut benefits for the most vulnerable. And third, they go to war for oil. Welcome to step 3, only this time it is not Bush doing it, it is Trump doing it. Add a little bit of election denialism and narcissism and fascism, and we're essentially just in Bush Part 2. This article reads, about 20 business leaders, including those from some of the top hedge funds and asset managers, are preparing to go on a March trip to Venezuela to look at investment opportunities there, including in energy and infrastructure. Now listen, it's a nuanced situation. I've talked to some people online that are refugees from Venezuela, and people are overwhelmingly happy that Maduro is gone. And good. It is good that Maduro is gone, but it is not the United States. It is not our role to be overthrowing and kicking out leaders at a whim. And also, the overthrowing of the regime is the easy part. That's the easiest part. The actual installing of a long-term sustainable government is almost always impossible, and now the Trump administration owns what happens from here. Again, Republicans always, without fail, get into power and put U.S. troops at risk just so we can get oil. As James Tallarico points out, last year, Trump promised American oil executives a, quote, great deal if they donated $1 billion to his campaign. Today, he gave them Venezuela, home to the largest oil reserves in the world. This new war is not only illegal and reckless, but it is deeply corrupt. You know, I did a lot of thinking this morning about this war, and I honestly don't think the average American cares about the legality of it. I mean, you and I care. We care that Donald Trump subverted both the Constitution and international law. But I think most Americans care more about this intuitive feeling of being backstabbed by an administration, just like they were during Bush. So I always test things out on my more apolitical friends because I do political messaging. So I'll talk to my friends from high school or whatever. Nobody really cares about the legality of these strikes. They care about a few things. First of all, being betrayed by this administration that said they wouldn't start any new wars. And secondly, being betrayed by an administration for oil. Once again, I mean, even people my age who didn't quite live through, we weren't quite paying attention during the 2000s and the Middle Eastern wars because we were like 6 years old. Even we understand at an intuitive level that the government lies for oil. And this is such a glaring example of that. The New York Times says, while Mr. Trump said little about how the United States would be, quote, running Venezuela, he insisted it, quote, won't cost us anything because American oil companies would rebuild the energy infrastructure in Venezuela, which holds vast reserves of oil. Quote, we are going to run the country right. It's going to make a lot of money. What could possibly go wrong with the United States initiating regime change, taking control of a country, and trying to steal its oil? Let me show you this clip of Donald Trump describing, not in a very detailed way, how we are going to be running Venezuela.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Now, to add on to this, Maduro's opposition leader, Machado, also promised, quote, $1.7 trillion of Venezuela's oil, gas, gold, and infrastructure. Now, Donald Trump hasn't quite thrown his support behind anybody in particular, and he even said that Machado does not command enough respect. So it essentially feels like it's going to the highest bidder right now. The opposition leader, the person who is in power next, is the person who can offer Donald Trump the sweetest deal.
And this is amazing, super exciting for me. We will open Venezuela for foreign investment. I am talking about a $1.7 trillion opportunity, not only in oil and gas, which is huge, and you know that the opportunities, because we will open all upstream, middle stream, downstream to all companies.
It's very obvious what's going on here, right? Every single world leader who has Trump's ear, or not world leader in this case, but potential world leader who has Trump's ear, throws out the biggest numbers possible because they know that is the language Trump speaks. She is trying to manipulate Trump, essentially. But Trump this morning scorned her and said she does not command enough respect in her country. Here's the reality, from what I understand. Machado would be 100 times better than the worst day in the Maduro regime. He was that much of a shitty, despicable human being, and she at least wants to uphold some semblance of human rights and human dignity. But at the same time, having a far-right leader who just sells out Venezuela to the United States as a vassal state isn't the best long-term solution for the people of Venezuela. In fact, that doesn't really solve the quality of life issues that were caused by the Maduro regime in the first place. Here's a really simple graph just to show you what I've been trying to illustrate. Step 1, a Republican gets elected. Then, pointless war. We are here. We are at that spot right now. Then, the economy crashes. You know what? You can even add a part right here where the Democrat then takes power and gets blamed for the economic crash. Many such cases. But then guess what? The Republican president gets elected as the economy is reverting back to the norm, and then they get the credit for that somehow. We are seeing this play out once again. Let me loop back around to this Wall Street Journal article that describes how business leaders and executives are now going to be taking trips to Venezuela. Some on Wall Street are already considering possible investment opportunities in Venezuela following the capture of Nicolas Maduro, according to Charles Myers, chairman of the consulting firm Signum Global Advisors and a former head of investment advisory firm Evercore. Myers said in an interview, he is planning a trip to Venezuela with officials from top hedge funds and asset managers to determine whether there are investment prospects in the country under new leadership. The trip will feature about 20 officials from the finance, energy, and defense sectors, among others. This is like poking at the body while it's still warm. Dude, we haven't even initiated the full regime change, which is crazy to say. We shouldn't be changing any regimes, but one of my friends who is into political analysis and foreign policy was telling me the 24 to 48 hours after a leader leaves is the most key section. It's kind of like a murder investigation. You have like 72 hours to successfully carry it out, or else you are cooked. You are done for. So in the following 12 to 24 to 48 hours after Maduro's capture, we should be trying as hard as possible to at least clean things up and put people on a steady track with a steady hand. Instead, we already have business leaders, capitalist maxers getting ready to travel over to Venezuela. The trip will feature about 20 officials. The tentative plan is for the group to travel to Venezuela in March and meet with the new government, including the new president, finance minister, energy minister, economy minister, head of the central bank, and Caracas Stock Exchange. And if this feels icky to you for some reason, it's because it is. Donald Trump is doing this under the veil of protecting American interests for drugs. You know, honestly, every single Republican has gone on TV today and given different answers. Trump at one point admitted this was for oil, but then Marco Rubio came after and said this was actually to stop the drug flow. But then Pete Hegseth says this is actually because Maduro is terrible, and then Marco Rubio backs that up. They have given 10 different reasons, but you know, business leaders aren't confused. Republicans may be confused on TV on a daily basis, but the business leaders, they know exactly what they need to be doing in this moment. Here's Trump telling us the reason for this invasion before it happened months ago.
But we're buying oil from Venezuela. When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door. But now we're buying oil from Venezuela, so we're making a dictator very rich. Can you believe this? Nobody can believe it.
They really thought we weren't going to see this. I don't know why he went into Venezuela. There it is.
Now, that is a clip from before we captured Maduro. That was from a few months ago, but Trump has had this plan for a while. I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.